Yeah, I mean, the game made a good job at making her not very likable, you know. News of the drifter, Furudo Erika, quickly spread across Orokenjima. Erika had been welcomed in politely, and it was decided that she would be treated as a guest until the typhoon passed. In the dining hall, Gora's wonderful dinner had ended, and everyone was relaxing and enjoying some after-dinner coffee and cheese. Coffee and cheese is a weird combination. I mean, I like both, and I probably wouldn't mind eating cheese and drinking coffee, but the thought never occurred to me. Apparently, Batla was a bit relieved that Erika had come and turned into a good scapegoat. It drove away some of the attention he had been getting piled on him for finally coming back after 6 years. In fact, she turned out to be very talkative. When the conversation turned to a sophisticated discussion of the mystery genre, even the adults were drawn in. She was apparently so well versed that even Nanjo, who had a vast knowledge of the subject, was impressed. A good point. A strange family in a western mansion on an isolated island during a storm. Now that we have a detective stopping by to take shelter from the rain, we've got all the major factors lined up. Have no fear. No matter how difficult the crime, I will solve it. That's a detective's job.
How reassuring. It almost sounds as though you want a bizarre crime to occur. I hope I don't have to play the part of the victim.
Dear, you mustn't say such things. Well, the history of the human mystery genre is only about a century old. Its tricks and ideas are limited to a few recycled patterns, so there's nothing left to show. No matter what kind of impossible crimes or closed rooms murders might occur, it'll be nothing more than one of the same classes of tricks dressed up to look like something new. The only reason mysteries still make for popular books today is because self-proclaimed fans, those who work off piece together knowledge, and who have hardly read any of the classics, mistakenly think that a classic trick they didn't know about, through lack of proper study, is actually something new and surprising. Yeah, she's likable as always. Everyone couldn't help but gape at this imposing claim. If an aged critic had said it, that would have been one thing, but to think that a young person like this could say it so boldly. Mystery is a genre that ended a half-century ago, you know. At least as far as I'm concerned. However, thanks to countless ignorant fools, I get to play my part as a detective. By that argument, wouldn't it mean that romance was perfected back in Shakespeare's time, so everything after that isn't worth reading? Exactly. So if you just read Romeo and Juliet, it's the same as having understood all of romance. That's ridiculous. It's not like there's any need to read more books than anyone else, just for its own sake. But on the other hand, you can't be so satisfied with just a few stories like that. Sticking to classics of the past and never reading anything new is a sign of excessive nostalgia, don't you think? That sounds to me like the excuse of an old person who can't be bothered to read more. I see. I guess I'll need to read at least as much as you, or else I'd probably lose in an argument. Me? I don't read books. Betla chuckled, but Erika knew from the previous game that Betla was actually quite an avid reader, so his words felt more of a challenge. If you're so confident in your reasoning abilities, you must be really good at quizzes and puzzles, right? Oh, right. Maria, didn't you bring a quiz book or something? Oh, brought it. Realizing that Erika's arrogant statement had made the atmosphere a little more tense, George smoothly changed the subject. Smooth as always. By now it was more than clear that she wasn't the cute guest she had appeared to be. Maria pulled a book out of her bag that had quizzes and puzzles written on it and started reading them to everyone. It looked like it might turn into a peaceful quiz party, but of course that isn't what happened. As a credit to all her big talk, Erika managed an impressive ratio of correct and immediate answers. She took complete control, and her bragging began to escalate more and more. George slightly regretted the choice he'd made when changing the subject. Why was I such an idiot and suggested this? Eventually, Erika became so unbearable that they threw her back into the sea. 106 matches, no need to even write a tournament chart for it. The question, how many matches would you need for a tournament with 107 teams, was answered instantly by Erika. This is less of a puzzle than it is a test of knowledge. There's a formula which shows that the number of matches is always the number of teams minus 1. Well, if you just look at the example showing 3 matches for 4 teams and 7 matches for 8 teams, it should be easy to figure out the pattern. Oh, Erika, that's awesome! Erika, in H-on, right? Say it. Erika, Hey-chan, that's awesome.
Really impressive, so you don't call yourself a detective for nothing, I see.
I couldn't very well act the part of the detective if I wasn't capable of handling puzzles of this sort.
Incredible.
I'm sure you'll be able to become a real detective in the future. Well, I'm pretty sure I already am one. Excuse me?
The cousins all thought about the answers to the questions, but Erika always answered first. Rosa thought it was a bit rude for Erika to say the answers out loud while people were still thinking instead of keeping them to herself, but since Erika was a guest, she decided against mentioning it. In truth, Erika was perfectly aware of this when she answered the questions instantly. Each time she would grin broadly as though saying,
You also haven't solved such an easy problem.
She, would probably get along with Byakuya.
A great detective like you shouldn't really need to take these too seriously, right? Good point. Even though these are just childish questions, I was getting a bit too serious. I'll take more care, so let's have the next question, please.
Alright, I won't lose this time. Maria, next question.
You have one large piece of cheese. A single slice with a knife can split it into 2 parts. So what is the lowest number of slices you can make to cut it into 8 parts?
Oh, I know this one, so I guess I'll stay quiet this time. George, acting like the adult he was, set up a mood that would prevent people from answering right away even if they knew the answer, in effect sending a warning to Erika that she would be chopped to pieces if she did. It seemed that Erika understood, and she averted her gaze, snorting derisively.
To make 8 pieces, 4 slices would be enough, right?
That's dumb.
It would hardly be a puzzle if that was the answer.
That's right. These are usually set up so that a smaller number than you'd expect is the answer. But still, how exactly could it be done? Oh, got it. You can only do this because it's cheese.
True. If you tried to do it with a birthday cake, there'd be a huge fight.
That's right. You might be able to do this with cheese, but you'd never cut a cake like this.
All of you know the answer?
Damn it, am I the only one who doesn't? 2.
Oh, I've got it. Yeah, you gotta think 3-dimensionally.
Wait, even Jessica? I don't get it. What should I do?
I know the answer. It's written right here. You didn't know the answer until you looked, right? Get it, Pedlakun?
I see, I understand it as well. This is something you can do because it is cheese. Even Dr. Nanjo gets it? Could it be? Am I the only one who doesn't get it?
I'm sure even your brain could be as flexible as cheese if we cooked it a little better, son.
It isn't something like use 0 slices with a knife and break it apart with your hands, right?
Of course not. It's impossible to cut this cheese with anything other than a knife. Think of the cheese in 3 dimensions. If that's hard, it might help to draw a picture on a paper napkin.
So we have one large piece of cheese, right?
Then we use a knife to make 8 pieces.
Oh, it's 8 pieces, not 4. Sorry. So that would be 6, I guess.
Can the knife only cut in a straight line? Yes, that's right. The knife only cuts in straight lines. Oh, but here's a hint.
Here's a hint.
You can only cut in a straight line, but you're free to cut it wherever you want.
Try thinking of a bunch of ways to stick it in. You should probably try to think out of the box a bit. Show us what you've got, Balakun.
You have a large piece of cheese. Yes. How many times must you cut it with a knife to make 8 pieces?
You could obviously do it in 4 cuts. Could it be done in even fewer cuts than that? Oh, hold on. I said 6, but we're talking about doing it in less than 4 cuts. I thought they meant like cutting it in 4 pieces, because then I would know a way to do it with just 2 cuts. Oh, I guess. Okay, it's gotta be 3. Okay, yeah, still works. Could it be done in even fewer cuts than that? Our hints so far point to it being possible specifically because it's cheese. If it was a birthday cake, you really wouldn't be allowed to do this. So everybody knows it?
Something you can do because it's cheese. Oh. Oh! I've got it! I was totally tricked. This isn't something you could think up if your mind's all stiff and rigid. Oopsie. Seems like you finally hit on it. Hopefully it actually is the right answer. It's impossible to cut the cheese with anything except the knife, right? The knife can only cut in a straight line, right? There aren't any other rules, right? Oh, not really. Alright, then that's gotta be it. Whew, that was a tough one, almost like a riddle. Oh, it was a riddle, wasn't it? You've just gotta get beyond cutting straight down from the top all the time. You make 2 cuts from the top to get 4 pieces, yeah. If you keep it like that and cut across the side, splitting it into upper and lower halves, you get 4 times 2 equals 8 pieces. Yeah, okay, that would have been my answer. It's an answer you can't reach unless you think 3-dimensionally. In other words, the correct answer is 3. Huh? Really? I thought the correct answer was 1. How would you cut the cheese into 8 pieces with just 1 cut? What kind of magic do you use? There's no way in the world you can magic with 1. This isn't a riddle, it's just a normal math problem. Huh? Oh, really? I thought of the 3-cut method right away, but I figured that was too easy, so... Oh, okay. He thought of that immediately, and then he just thought it was too easy. So I guess I tried to twist it too far. Better's answer is smaller than the one in the book. It's better, right? Yes, he is. Betlerson is right. The correct answer is 1 slice. Bettler was happy that someone had confirmed his answer. However, at some point, Erica's face had lost its cheeriness. To think that a human other than myself would give the answer 1, and that it would be you of all people. Your answer was 1 too, Erica? I guess you were also thinking out of the box. Okay, now I'm curious as to how you do that in 1 cut. After all, it would be truly foolish to simply assume you knew what shape it was after hearing that it was a piece of cheese. Cheese. That's impossible. Oni-chan got it wrong, didn't he? How could you cut it into 8 pieces with less than 3 slices? How foolish, child of man. It says to cut it into 8 pieces, but nowhere does it say that they have to be of equal size. Still impossible. Do you cut it with something other than a knife? The rules say that only the knife can cut it, and that the knife can only cut in a straight line. However, to turn it around, the rules do not say anything besides that. In fact, the shape of the cheese is never specified. I see. When you all heard a large piece of cheese, you thought of a flat cylinder like camembert or something. I was thinking about sliced cheese, like the kind you might put on your toast for breakfast. Because you know, full blocks of cheese you'd cut with a knife aren't something I come across that often. The shape of the cheese isn't specified in the rules, a mistake by the ones who made the book. I imagine that there's a picture of a flat cylinder of cheese there in Maria-san's book. There is, right here. As Erica had guessed, the book Maria held had an illustration of a piece of cheese, just as Erica had described it. With cheese of this shape, 3 slices really would be the correct answer. You cut it in a cross pattern from the top to make 4 pieces, then cut it from the side to double that and make 8 pieces. However, since this illustration hadn't been shown, the interpretation of the cheese had been left to the answerer. That's right. At the moment the problem was stated, no one said anything about how the cheese was shaped or how flexible it was. Exactly. It seems that Betlerson was the more flexible one when it comes to both brains and cheese. I don't get it. How does making it sliced cheese let you cut it into 8 parts with a single knife slice? Oh yeah, I see. Why not try it with that paper napkin? Pretend it's sliced cheese. It's like this. You fold it accordion style. How many times do you need to fold it to make 8 sections? 6 times. To fold it accordion style, you alternate between upward and downward folds. Once you've done this 6 times, it looks like the side of an accordion. With normal cheese, it will break if you try to fold it like this, but the rules say that this cheese can't break unless you use a knife, right? Yes, no problems there. After all, this is magic cheese that can only be cut by a knife. After folding it, if you start at the top and make a cut right down the middle... You're right. It would make 8 parts. Wait a second, the parts aren't all equal this way, right? All the questioner said was to cut it into 8 pieces.
They didn't say anything about them being equal. Well, if you change the way you fold it, it is possible to make them all equal sizes, but I wouldn't want to confuse your stiff-headed people with an explanation. Oh. For a while, everyone was stunned. Butler had reached a far better answer than 3 by thinking of the problem as a riddle. Erica had already known both answers and had even spotted a mistake made by the book. The others could do nothing but stare at those two in surprise. Incredible! So we were the stiff-headed ones?
What an utter defeat!
We were thinking in 3 dimensions, but it looks like Batlakun and Ericson were thinking in 1 dimension higher. It seems the game with the witch has toughened you up quite a lot. Puzzles without specified rules, in other words, all things not covered by the red truth, are left to the observer's interpretation. It's the most basic of methods for constructing gaps in the witch's closed rooms.
What are you talking about? Is that a quote from some novel?
Well, let's call it that for now, shall we? Anyway, I guess this means that everyone's brains are as stiff as rock-hard cheese.
Without any signs of restraint, Erica looked at everyone and laughed sarcastically. Only Maria didn't notice the venom in that laugh as she happily turned to the next page.
Ooh, then on to the next problem. You have 3 cups and 6 coins. Split up the coins so that there's 1 coin in 1 cup, 2 coins in another cup, and 3 coins in the 3rd cup.
Wait a sec, that's easy. Just stick 1 coin in the first cup, 2 in the next one, and 3 in the last one, and you're done.
However, can you do the same thing with only... Oh, can you do the same thing with only 5 coins? Here's another cliched problem. Don't tell me that you'll all need to waste several precious seconds on a problem like this.
By now, Erica was gazing around with an unpleasant look, acting in a manner that was completely inappropriate both for a guest and for someone of her age. She was no longer a guest who would be staying until the storm passed. She had transformed to an annoying guest who wouldn't leave until the storm passed. Everyone thought this, but they were unable to say it aloud.
Right, speaking of problems with coins, I've heard that picking up coins is a good way of judging someone's skills with chopsticks. Chopsticks! Yes, chopsticks, that's right. Chopsticks are the most elegant utensils on the planet. Poking things and chopping them up with forks and knives is so barbaric. Chopsticks are the best. For me, using chopsticks is truly an art.
Jessica was about to say, aren't chopsticks just sticks, but stopped herself just in time. She realized that it would be best to let George take control for now.
I have a coin here, so would you like to challenge me? I'm pretty good with chopsticks.
That's right. We train George very well with those. Indeed, table manners are a window into one's upbringing, and Erica-san uses them quite well herself. I'll lend you some coins too. It'll probably be more fun with more of them.
Jessica, watch closely and learn.
Damn it.
Alright, let's go. Let's see who can move the most coins over to the plate.
Bring it on!
Chopsticks! Chopsticks!
She has a weird, chopsticks king, if you ask me. This time, George had steered the conversation into a good direction. Everyone else understood, and they helped to egg on this chopstick fight and change the subject. Man, they were fully aware by now that Erica was extremely proud of her intelligence, and apparently she had the bad habit of using that to look down on other people. She spun her chopsticks around with the deft hand of a juggler, staring at the coins scattered on the table like a dog who had been told to stay after having a meal placed in front of it. So she's not solving the epitaph this time? The unsettling sound of the wind had now blended in with the sound of rain, mimicking the howl of some monstrous beast. Just when it seemed to be crying out sadly, it would suddenly turn into a roar and rattle the window, striking up even more fear and unease within me. So who exactly is this? I thought it was Battler, but apparently not. Light from the hallway poured in through the thin crack of the slightly open door, and it seemed to carry with it laughter that was warm and happy but very distant. I'm sure everyone is in the dining hall or somewhere, having a good time. I want to go there as soon as I can. I mean, who else could it be? Yeah, I don't know. I'm sure my family will be there. I hate being all alone in a place like this. But was
Wasn't it Battler? I kind of remember. I mean, maybe I just assumed it was Battler. Dad, Mom, I stubbornly tried again and again to get that door open, but the merciless chain just wouldn't let it open any further than that crack. On the contrary, feeling this close to a way out just made me more impatient. Gulping and trying to ignore the fear lurking behind me, I quietly closed the door. That light coming out of the crack is just a trap. An iron shackle making it look like I'm an inch away from freedom, though that door will never actually open. A shackle trapping me in here for all eternity. I need to get out of this creepy room as soon as possible. When I closed the door, all that filled the room were the eerie sounds of wind and rain. The way the wind picked up every now and then and shook the window frame felt like a monster in a cage, shaking the bars. I was so scared of that monster I couldn't help but avert my gaze from the window. Gotta search. If I can't get out the door, I need to find another way out. Just to the side of the door was a closet. There was only enough space inside to hang overcoats. Of course it didn't connect to anywhere outside the room. If this were hide and seek, it'd probably be fun to hide in there. However, inside this creepy room, it'd be no better than stepping into my own coffin. If I go in there, maybe I'll find myself trapped in the closet next. This fear I didn't understand sent a massive shiver up my spine, and I closed the closet door in a hurry. There's one door left. When I opened it, there was the bath and toilet. Of course, there was no exit. There weren't even any windows. If I turned the faucet, water would probably come out, then disappear down the drain and flow outside, but I couldn't get out that way. Unless I went into the bathtub with the stopper pulled out of the drain and smashed my flesh and bones to bits. I had the feeling that this was the only way out, so the black stopper in the bathtub drain looked extremely terrifying. I tried a lot of things, both mentally and physically, but there really was no chance of me getting out through the bathroom. Next is the window. Beyond the window is a pitch-black darkness. The fierce winds and rain are slamming against the glass. The darkness on the other side of the window may have been unsettling, but I didn't really care where I went as long as it got me out of this room. However, the window was clamped shut. Right down the middle of the window, which was made to swing open like a set of double doors, were several ugly metal clamps. The Danganronpa now? It was even more unnerving than the chain on the door, like a rough operation scar on some bizarre monster. The wind and rain slammed against the window frame, shaking it and making it creak loudly. However, unlike the door, this wouldn't open even a crack. I've had enough. Give it a rest already. What the hell is going on with this room? I've had enough of this creepy room. Enough, 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 enough. It's impossible to go outside except by the door and windows. And compared to that thick door, the window looks like it might be possible to break. I'll smash it. If I swing a chair at it, the glass will probably break. I might even be able to smash the wooden grid that runs through these lattice windows. All I need to do is make a gap large enough to slip out of. I grabbed a fancy-looking antique chair and headed back to the window. Ah! Smash it! Over and over! Oh, the glass smashed with a violent sound and the frame groaned and creaked. Smash it, over and over! If I can just break through the wooden grid. Damn it, what the hell? Even though the glass had been smashed apart, even though the cold rain that blew in tormented me, I just couldn't get that grid to break. They weren't iron bars, it was just a slender wooden mesh. Even though it's fragile enough to make that creaking sound, why doesn't it break? No wait, maybe it's almost broken. What if I try taking it from a different angle instead of just smashing it head on? I stuck my left hand outside through the hole in the broken lattice window, grabbed the frame from the front with my right hand, and tried to break it by shaking it around from both sides. My left hand started to grow ice cold from the frigid wind and rain. When I shook it, fragments of glass sticking out from the broken frame poked into me, and my wrist was soon stained with blood. But if I can just get out of here, this much pain is no big deal. But I can't get out. I'm stuck. It won't open. I can't break it. The more violently I shook the frame, the more the glass fragments tore into my left wrist, causing me intense pain. Wait, what's it, huh? Oh. Before I realized it, the glass fragments on the frame had extended outwards. It was as though an ugly beast was trying to chew my hand up with glass teeth. It didn't just feel as though they were growing outwards. They actually were getting longer before my very eyes, and they're chewing my hand to bits. I tried desperately to pull my hand out, but it had already dug deep into my wrist and I couldn't move it. I put all my strength into it, but it just hurt more and more, and the glass didn't even budge. What the hell? Damn it, let go, let go, let go. I hit the glass with my right fist over and over, but that just hurt my right fist and did nothing to release my other hand. Just then, my left hand, which was still exposed to the rain outside, brushed against something slimy. What? It couldn't have been a leaf blown about by the winds or anything like that. I mean, it felt just like the touch of someone's rain-soaked hand. Then it closed tightly around my left hand. When I felt the 5 fingers, I knew that some person out in the darkness was touching my left hand. And, yes, I know who it is. It's the witch. The terrifying witch who rules over our continuous night. The 2 hands, soaked in the freezing rain, gently caressed my left hand. However, though I could tell what was happening by touch, I couldn't see anything out there in the darkness. Then it felt about my fingers and twisted my ring finger upwards. It's gonna break. God. At that moment, I saw something in the darkness for the first time. It was white. The darkness grinned and bared its white teeth. Then that mouth, filled with eerily white teeth, approached my finger that had been twisted up so far it was about to break, and opened wide. It must have been laughing at me from the darkness. After all, that creepy mouth was twisting upward in a huge grin. I had a horrible idea of what it might be trying to do to my finger. A shiver ran up my spine. I resisted as much as I could, but the fangs of glass just wouldn't release my left hand. And then, it gently bit my finger. Well, that's not creepy at all. Flesh and bone were crushed and torn apart in an instant. Crunch, rip, tear, squelch, splat. Did you hear something just now? I think I heard it too. It sounded like a clunk. It's probably just the wind hitting a window. This is a beat-up old mansion after all. Yeah, it is pretty creepy. When I was a brat 6 years ago, I remember spending a lot of nights all scared that the witch really was walking around the mansion. Oh, she exists! Beatrice exists! What's at the other end of this hallway? There are guest rooms there, but they aren't being used now. Yeah, after all, we have the guest house now. Until then, we would always stay in these guest rooms. Yeah, I remember too. When I saw the guest house today, I was surprised at how beautiful it was. Well, that's because it was just built. I wish I could move my own room over there. Chan and Erika-san's room is in the guest house too, right? Oh no. Yes, we have prepared a room for her in the guest house. And since the guest house is a good distance away from the mansion, no matter what kind of trouble happens, you can't hear what's going on in one from the other. Huh. Are you still in detective mode? Sounds like you'll be all bummed when we all wake up tomorrow and manage to say good morning to each other. True. At least one of us had better be gone by tomorrow morning. Right. Allow me to guide you all to the guest house. The adults were apparently about to begin a conversation that they didn't want the kids to hear. The real family conference was about to start. As the kids and Erika followed Shannon on their way to the guest house, they passed through the entrance hall. Looks like it's pouring down at as hard as right now. Should we watch TV in the parlor until it dies down a bit? Mama said to go back to the guest house. We have to go or she'll get mad. Ooh. I think we were able to relax a lot more over there. Better than getting to see and hear our parents get all pissed at us. It looks like everything is falling into place. Erika giggled, an openly indiscreet look on her face. I'll get some umbrellas for everyone. Please wait here. Oh, wait a second. It's been bugging me for a while. Who's the woman in that portrait? Well, to be honest, I already know that it's Beatrice's portrait. Still, we only just walked past it in the last game, which is no fun. Erika whispered to herself, but of course no one heard her. This is the master's benefactor, Beatrice Summer. They say she gave grandfather a vast quantity of gold, meaning that she's to thank for the Shidomiya family's revival. She's just a witch of grandfather's delusions. Supposedly her ghost walks the corridors of the mansion every night. Hey, quit it. That story always freaked me out when I was little, and it always made this mansion feel terrifying after night fell.
Oh, right, that's true. What about now, 6 years later?
I'd totally forgotten, but looking at this portrait head on, I can feel that old fear coming back a bit.
Beatrice isn't scary, at least as long as you respect her. If you don't... Right, Shannon? Yes. That rumor does exist among the servants as well. Rumors about servants patrolling at night bumping into mysterious silhouettes or gold butterflies.
Yeah, was it last year or the year before? Didn't one servant fall down some stairs and get so badly injured that they quit? Wasn't there a rumor that it was Beatrice's curse? Jessica told it like a ghost story, trying to scare Erica, but Erica just laughed disdainfully. Come on, that's creepy. It was probably just an accident, right? Just a coincidence? It happened just after Grandfather had this portrait hung here, so it was probably the year before last. In fact, if I remember, this here is the staircase that servant fell down, right? Yep. After all, this insanely huge portrait really stands out. Shortly after it was put up, everyone was talking about what it might be. And then, when the accident happened shortly afterwards, people started calling it Beatrice's curse.
So these ghost stories about Beatrice started after the portrait was put on display? No. Rumors about Beatrice Summer's ghost walking about were around even before that. However, I do think those stories grew in number after the portrait was put there.
Before then, even though they had heard about the witch, Beatrice, they didn't have an actual distinct picture in their heads of what she'd be like. I imagine that this portrait made that picture distinct for them, strengthening the rumors even more.
So who started talking about this Beatrice the witch in the first place?
Grandfather.
He'd always start freaking out and yelling, "My beloved witch Beatrice!" Though until we saw that portrait, we had no idea what she looked like. It's no surprise that you'd get one or two ghost stories with a creepy portrait like this hanging around. You always find ghost stories cropping up around things like a portrait of Beethoven in the music room or the statue of the school founder. True, it wouldn't be strange for a few ghost stories to arise in an old gloomy mansion with the sound of wind and rain present in the background for so long. Well, it's nothing more than a ghost story, a delusion, a fairy tale, worth less than the useless drivel of a half-sleeping nitwit.
Erica looked up at the portrait and smiled at it hostilely. As though she felt that the smile was disrespectful to Beato, Maria's face soured.
Beatrice exists. If you say things like that, you definitely feel the curse of the witch. Oh, how frightening. Please curse me if you can, Beatrice.
Wouldn't it be funny if she was the first to die? But then again, she's the detective, I guess. So if we find you mysteriously dead next morning, we'll know it's the curtain raising on a witch's murder case. But you're a detective, right? Wouldn't killing the detective off in the beginning be a bit too radical?
That would be troubling. That would get in the way of the crime scene inspection. I see, after all, even the Nux rules don't prohibit the detective being killed. I have just what you need. It's a charm that'll protect you from Beatrice's curse.
A charm? You have a charm for something like that? After fishing around in her bag, Maria pulled out a string of beads attached to a medal that had a scorpion drawn on it. It looked like a cheap prize from an arcade or something.
What are these? They're magic-repelling charms. Their effect is very weak, but if you use them, you'll definitely be able to avoid Beatrice's curse all night long. I've heard that spider webs are also useful for repelling magic. That's probably because Beato is the incarnation of a butterfly.
Huh? Wasn't it the evil spirits of Akujiki-shima that were weak against that? Kumasawa-san knows a lot about that sort of thing.
Witches and evil spirits. This is getting a bit interesting. Would you mind telling me about it in a bit more detail when we get to the guest house? Here are umbrellas for everyone. It's still raining very hard outside, so please take care.
Shannon handed out the umbrellas she had brought. Everyone headed towards the exit. And then, when there were none left standing in front of the portrait, a gold butterfly appeared. It expanded out into a golden splash, becoming a human form. In the hall, empty now that the children had left, Beato stood alone and silent, looking up at her own portrait. Without a doubt, the figure depicted there was as like her as an image in a mirror. However, it felt as though its eyes and expression were just a little different from hers. From her perspective, while the person in this portrait was almost infinitely close to herself, it was just as surely a different person entirely. Who are you? Please tell me what kind of person you are. Beato had already finished reading the fragments from Featherine's library, which showed the tales of all the games so far. However, the witch called Beatrice, who had been depicted in them, had been so vastly different from her. At the very end, it had looked as though that witch and Battler had connected just a little bit as rivals, but for the most part, Beatrice had just bullied Battler in nearly all of the tales. Even though this was about her, she had no idea why Beatrice had tormented Bella so much when she had supposedly been born for Bella's sake. All she had learned from Featherine's library was that the former Beato was a completely different person who defied understanding. What happened to you? I am an egg of you, a chick. Your wings should have existed for father's sake. Just when did you have one of those torn off and end up so drastically different? She had listened to the conversation Battler and the others had just been having. Beatrice can't handle scorpion charms. Beatrice can't deal with spider webs. She wouldn't have wanted to touch either of those by choice, but it wasn't as though anything terrible would happen if she did. Was being perfectly fine when around those proof that she wasn't Beatrice? Even though this involved her own self, she didn't understand at all. So she quietly gazed into her own eyes on the portrait. It felt as though the truth hid behind those eyes. Beato slowly approached the portrait, and then she slightly touched it. When she did, it felt as though the portrait rippled slightly. Yes, this is a doorway. A doorway to the long path that will lead her to the Golden Witch Beatrice. Beato felt a bit dizzy. She lost her balance, feeling as though the world was twisting around her. Then when she couldn't tell which way was up or down, she was swallowed downwards. With a soft watery sound, Beato was sucked into the portrait. The world inside the portrait was pitch black. However, there was nothing unsettling about it. It was a comfortable darkness, like when you put your head under the covers in bed at night. Beato realized this was a world inside herself, so despite the darkness, she felt a warm embrace. As long as she asked for nothing, this world would ask nothing of her, but she couldn't remain like this. She didn't want to spend eternity inside the darkness of this world. Yes, I need to hatch out of my egg. This darkness is the shell surrounding the gold butterfly called Beatrice. I will be born for father's sake. I will be born to live for father's sake and to serve him. She took her goal, her reason for being born, and put it in words. As if in response to those words, the seal on the shell began to melt away. Cracks appeared in the darkness, and a brilliant light enveloped the world. And so Beatrice was born. Huh? There I stood, along with another me. For a second I thought that the me in front of me was the real Beatrice, the one I wanted to be more like. However, she was looking back at me with the same bewildered eyes, so I realized that wasn't quite it. That's right. I wasn't the only one born from that egg. She was also born. Is she my twin? No, it feels a bit different. How can I put it? Both of us are lacking something and immature. Yes, both of us are chicks, but we are also fragments of the true Beatrice. It felt as though we could become the real Beatrice together. No one explained this to us, however we naturally understood. I decided to talk to this other me. Unless I get to know her and become one with her, I won't be able to become the Beatrice father desires. In other words, the thing that father wants from me and was so heartbroken to find missing must be something that she has. Hello? The Beatrice with her hair down looked at me dubiously several times, then finally spoke. Why is your face the same as my own? The true Beatrice also spoke in that manner. It looks like she really does have something that I lack. Well, I don't know why either. I am the Golden Witch Beatrice, and you are... Huh? Beatrice the elder sister? A mysterious witch who existed even before the rules. Okay, she has the same name as Beato, but she wasn't given the goal of devoting herself to Balor. The final version of the witch, sealed away by Kinzo. She spends her days pulling small pranks and clearing away the magic-resisting toxin, all for the sake of her resurrection. She is similar to the evil spirits of Akuji Kishima in many ways, such as her fear of spiderwebs. She is the one who gave Shannon the golden butterfly brooch. I am the Golden Witch Beatrice, and you are? I am also Beatrice. I was born for the purpose of serving Ushiromiya Butler. I am the Golden Witch and the ruler of Orokanjima's night. I know of Ushiromiya Butler, but I have trouble imagining why I should have to serve a brat like him. I realized that the thought I had had a second ago must have been true. Together we really can become the true Beatrice. Though the person in front of me does have the part that makes me her witch, which I lack, she does not possess the mission to live for Ushiromiya Butler's sake. She has what I do not, and I'm sure I have something she does not. We must be two, and yet one single person. I think we're something like twins. No, that is not so. You are my little sister. I have been here since long before you were born. Huh? Is that so? I was born later, so does that mean the mission to live for Ushiromiya Butler's sake was born later on? However, I don't think my whole existence is something quite as faint and intangible as the mission. I have enough of a personality to think and act as I am doing now, so the Witch Beato and I are separate people, with both of us possessing something the other lacks. In that sense, maybe it's fitting for us to call ourselves sisters, as she says. I want to know about you. I also wish to know. I understand that you are also me. Why is it that you speak that way, and why must you serve Butler? Until we grow to understand this, it seems both of us will remain immature. I want to become a complete Beatrice. Until you were born, I was complete. However, now that you have appeared, I believe that accepting you is my fate. I also wish to know about you. The Witch Beato's tone was very slightly arrogant, which fitted her self-proclaimed status as the older sister. However, since we both realized that we were the same person, there was no need for her to be a bully. She probably realized that, after meeting me, her current form was no longer her real self. Where are we? Is this the hall of the mansion? Oh. Beato gasped. Her portrait wasn't there. Did that mean that this was at least 2 years in the past? Precisely, this is the hall of the Ushiromiya mansion. The night is my time, and the nighttime mansion is mine as well. That fool Kenzo is still so desperate to catch me or revive me. How truly ironic. Here I am openly ruling the mansion every night. So, what do you do here? I have lost my body, and due to the effects of that hateful shrine, I have no magical energy. However, my power is reviving bit by bit every day. I can't wait to eventually undergo a spectacular resurrection and have a good laugh at Kenzo. I can't wait to tell him that I've succeeded in escaping from his stupid cage. Simply put, I'm a ghost killing time by wandering about night after night, with nothing to look forward to besides teaching that old man a lesson. But may I join you? Of course. After all, you are a part of me. How could the left hand refuse the company of the right? Why should I refuse? I shall be pleased to have you, my little sister, the new Beatrice. Thank you very much. Oh, Ne-sama. A somewhat embarrassing name, but it is not bad. Come, let us go. Let us take a walk through the nighttime mansion. Let me introduce you to my boring everyday life. The two Beatrices changed their forms into two gold butterflies, flitting silently into the depth of the shadowy mansion. Back then I was, and I guess I still am, a bit of a klutz. I always forgot where I'd put things, or think I'd locked something up when I'd actually forgotten. I caused a lot of trouble. I remember how Aunt Matsu used to get mad at you all the time. But eventually Shannon managed to overcome all that forgetfulness. Oh, and how did you do that? Huh? It wasn't anything big, but I got into the habit of writing things down. I'd write down wherever I put something important. For things that happened often, I made a checklist and always made sure to check it. So, you're so boring. Did you see Beatrice or didn't you? Oh, I didn't see her directly, but well, some very strange things did happen. She was talking about a certain summer night. Shannon had been doing the nightly rounds. From her perspective, it was a ghost story. From the witch's perspective, it was just the story of a little summer's night prank. Little sister, Do you understand the anti-magic toxin that humans possess? No. What is it, One-sama? Well, the time of witches is long since past. Those vile humans who claim to rule over everything came to deny our existence and possess a powerful toxin. Is that toxin harmful to us? It is extremely dangerous. If we were exposed to it, our forms would probably evaporate in an instant. However, one thing we do have in our favor is the fact that our existence is still extremely weak. Because of that, the toxin does not affect us greatly. At worst, it can only transform us into mist for a time. However, we'd rather avoid it if we can, right? Correct. Yes, I see that you are indeed me. You catch on quickly. The older sister appeared to be haughty at first, but perhaps because she was so happy to have met her double and little sister, she was more than willing to teach her anything she wanted to know. The first thing she taught was that they were witches, a different type of being than humans. Beato had thought her inability to use magic meant she wasn't a witch, but apparently she was still a witch nonetheless. And she learned that witches like her were bound by various limitations unlike humans. The greatest of those restrictions was the anti-magic toxin possessed by humans. So in other words, we mustn't enter a human's field of vision. Correct. You can think of it as though human eyes radiate the toxin. If they see you, it is the same as your body being burned. And though the effect is weaker, being heard or sensed can also result in contact with the toxin. So even just getting close to humans is dangerous to us. Wasn't Father human? Why am I not burned by Father's toxin? If we stock up magical power and have it acknowledged by humans, that toxin can be reduced drastically. In other words, by having our existence acknowledged by humans, we make them lose their toxin, making it possible for us to appear before them once more. I see. Simply put, as we are now, we can only exist when humans aren't around. We are still very lacking in magical power, which makes us inferior to even a stray cat hiding from humans in the shadows. The main goal of the older sister was to gain a large supply of magical power and be revived as a great witch, strong enough to have no fear of the anti-magic toxin. For that purpose, she had wandered around the mansion night after night, striving to regain her magical power and reduce the anti-magic power of the humans. The powerful previous Beatrice, whom she had read about in Featherine's library, had appeared openly in front of humans and had even toyed with them at will. According to her big sister, such a level of power was most impressive. To think that a witch could appear openly before humans and use magic at will? A witch like that would be so great that even I can hardly imagine it. Is that what we will eventually become? Yes, she was like a witch from a picture book, appearing openly before the humans of the mansion and summoning magic and underlings at will. How inspiring. If that is our future, it means that all of our hard work will have been worth the effort. That's right. Anyway, One-sama, how is that goal connected to going around unlocking windows like this? It was the middle of the night. They were following behind servants who were checking the locks on the doors and windows and undoing those locks after the servants thought they had been set. It felt more like a child's prank than the work of a witch. This is the path that leads to becoming a great witch. All journeys begin with a single step. To those who cannot understand, that first step may look quite foolish from time to time. However, it is still a momentous first step. With pride, as though making the first step for mankind on the surface of the moon, the older sister undid the lock on a window with a click. Do you not understand, little sister? Can you not see why a little thing like this is so momentous? No, One-sama, I don't really understand. The older sister closed her eyes lightly, smiled, and opened the unlocked window a crack. Cool outside air flowed in, making the curtains flutter. Let us put it in the toxin-filled words of a human. We are not supposed to exist on this island. I shall go further. Right now, there is no one in this corridor, and yet the lock has been undone and the window has opened. Can you see how great a miracle, a work of magic, a proof of our existence that is? Even you should understand the coolness of this breeze. I do understand. It's nice and cool. The coolness, the softness of the breeze, and the feel of the fluttering curtain touching your hair. All of these things show that we truly are here. So by unlocking the windows like this, we can leave behind proof that we really did exist. And that is why I unlocked it. Of course, it wasn't just small pranks like opening a window. She could also smash windows and vases, or leave behind strange fires and mysterious scribbles. In fact, one time she actually did play a large-scale prank in the kitchen, piling up kitchenware in an eerie manner and leaving behind a bizarre scribble which scared the servants considerably. It was a complete success. She'd really managed to scare the servants and had succeeded in making them acknowledge the existence of magic, weakening the anti-magic toxin. However, she usually chose to make her presence known by unlocking windows. The act of unlocking symbolized her release from the limitations imposed by the human's toxin. One day, we will become a single witch and rule over all of Rokkenjima. When that time comes, we will gain complete freedom and will be capable of stretching our wings as we please. We won't have to be afraid of anyone's gaze anymore. We'll be able to fly wherever we wish, disappear whenever we want, laugh however we like, prank however we like, talk with anyone we want to. Humans might ask things of us from time to time. They might fight with us or play with us too. What wonderful things for us frail creatures who cannot appear before anyone to look forward to. Right now, they are little more than pranks. However, as they pile up, proof that we exist will begin to gather. The servants already call me the witch, Beatrice, master of the night, and are beginning to believe in me bit by bit. The more they believe, the more those humans will lose their anti-magic toxin. I see. So this means that Father has no anti-magic toxin, and that's because he truly believes in the existence of the witch I am without any doubts. I finally realized that, though I thought him to be cold, Father does possess a kindness that can be seen. I'd like to become a great witch and appear in front of everyone soon. Indeed, eventually we will be able to appear openly in front of anyone. By doing that repeatedly, we shall make people believe in us even more, and eventually we shall display even our magic for all to see. At that time we shall descend upon Rokkenjima as the great witch you told me of. Okay, it's past 11, and I guess this change of scene is a good moment to stop. And to stop the recording.